Live from New York, it's Ask This Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Lady Ada, and with me is Mr. Lady Ada. It's a crispy fall night. We're here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. doing this show. We love doing it. It's like 10 years running. Got all sorts of cool maker and engineer and hacker news, new products, videos.
Got all sorts of stuff tonight.
Things, events, I don't know, giveaways.
Yep.
Very exciting night.
Mm-hmm.
We're broadcasting here from the Adafruit factory in downtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
Why don't you kick it off?
Multiple networks, from Facebook to Twitch to Periscope to YouTube.
You can see us in any way.
You can even tell we're on air.
Bing bong.
All right, on tonight's show, the code is Forbin, 10% off in the Adafruit store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. The code is Forbin. I'll tell you why it's Forbin later. Sports Us, an open source hardware company. Here's just some pictures of us. We are loan free, venture capital free. We make electronics. We sell them to you. That's how we pay the bills. Show and tell people around the world, showing and sharing their projects. Lady Ada will go over those. Mailbag, pack of mailbags going to stop by. And we have a special song. Remember that song we played the other day? We have a song. Someone sent us a song. The Adafruit song.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the Adafruit song.
Okay.
Time travel. Look back in the world of makers, hackers, artists, engineers, and current events and more. Made in New York, some factory footage. We have some IoT news from Nimbus, the friendly cloud entity. 3D printing, new products. We'll answer your questions. Got a couple top secrets. Trivia question. We give stuff away. All that and more on, you guessed it,
Do-do-do.
Ask an Engineer. All right. Okay.
Very exciting.
Yeah, just a reminder. Code's Forbin. This is the code.
What do you get?
You get 10% off in the Adafruit store, except for gift certificates and a box.
Pretty good deal.
Not a bad deal. You are watching Ask an Engineer every Wednesday at 8 p.m. We just did the show and tell. That was at 7:30. For folks that are checking out of the store in New York City, if it's before 11 a.m. and you're in Manhattan, the zip code is on checkout. We have same-day delivery. We also have the free deals going. This is working out. So
free deals.
We have stuff.
$99 or more, you get a Permaproto half-size breadboard, great for making printed projects. $150 or more, you get a Trinket M0, which runs CircuitPython or Arduino. Very exciting. Get a little CircuitPython board. $200 or more free UPS ground shipping in the continental US. $250 or more a Gemma M0 with CircuitPython, and $299 or more you get a Circuit Playground Express. And at every level you get everything in the previous levels as well. So if you order $299 or more, you get free shipping and everything you see here. Wow.
Right. And these are the boards that are running or can run CircuitPython.
They run CircuitPython. You can also use them with Arduino, but they're super powerful and really fun. Yeah. And we think people really like them. We're starting to see more people doing projects with them because they're like, wow, you can do a lot with a Trinket M0.
Yeah, if you get a free Circuit Playground Express, you can go to makecode.adafruit.com, or you can pop it in, shows up as a drive, and then you have CircuitPython. You got options. You can download the Arduino IDE. You can do all sorts of stuff.
Yep, it's supported natively in Arduino IDE, so it's very handy.
Okay. Shipping options, because it's getting close to the holidays, so I may as well mention these even more. We have DHL International. That's helpful because it has prepaid customs and sales through, and the countries, Canada, UK, Germany, France, Belgium, Ireland, Italy, Netherlands, Portugal, and Spain. And we also added more options to our shipments lately. So the more states in the US, we ship USPS. And I just found a graphic that I wrote an article a long time ago. Can makers, hackers, and entrepreneurs save the post office? The post office was in a bit of a deficit. They're doing a lot of neat stuff. Anyways, check that article because it's getting old. That article now, like I don't know, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, usually.
And a lot of the things with sensor networks and cities. That was some of the suggestions, and you helped me out with that article. Anyway, so
yeah, I remember that. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was about the post office and what they can do for the maker world. If you look at Amazon and Prime and 360 videos and all the neat stuff about mapping, they go everywhere. So that's like real estate on the trucks that you can do stuff. But anyways, we ship to more states now. Also, for UPS, we have more options on checkout, and I just wanted to show these logos because I wanted to grab a UPS logo. By the way, these are their old logos. Isn't that kind of cool?
I remember, the 2003 logo. I really liked it because it had a little package. And then they went to the shield, which is okay. I mean, it's interesting. I didn't realize it used to be a shield, so I guess they're just going back.
Same person who did the middle one with the little bow designed the next logo, if you like the next logo. So anyways, we also have more options with UPS on checkout that gets things faster through customs, taxes, all that and more. So it's like kind of prepaid before it gets in. So that's our shipping options. And
logo discussion.
So one thing, and it was in the news and we have to mention it. So we're a few blocks away from the tragedy that happened You and I live and work right around here.
Yeah, we walk down that path all the time.
Yeah, and it was a sad day for New York. This is footage that I strapped cameras to me. This is where I jog when Scott visited. We go right there. I try to stay away from cars and even the bike path, which is separated. And this is just some of the footage that I took. We walk there all the time. This is our home.
Yeah.
This is where Adafruit is. Last night, this was the Freedom Tower, and then tonight is the Empire State Building, and it's going to go all dark.
Yeah.
So just one thing, remember everybody, like cherish everyone. This is random stuff. New Yorkers are New Yorkers. It's solidarity. Like we get knocked down, we get up. But you can see it from where we live. You can see it from here. This is where Adafruit's always been. So devastating. So one just moment of silence for the folks that lost their lives, and then we'll continue on with the show. Okay, so show and tell,
yeah,
which was the pick-me-up that I needed this week.
Yeah.
People around the world sharing their projects. Every single week we did this.
We had some good Halloween projects.
Great Halloween projects. Saw some friends for the first time on the show and tell, and of course we had some Halloween projects.
Yeah.
So let's
I'm gonna
dive right in. Yeah. Who was on the show and tell?
Okay,
What did they share?
We had a bunch of people. We had John Park, who's Adafruit folks, showing off a Trinket M0 that accidentally got zorked with 12 volts. Turns out you can't put 12 volts into a microcontroller pin without it going poof. So he earned his Sparky, the Blue Smoke Monster pin on that one. And also preview of some winter holiday projects. He's going to be doing a snow globe with the Circuit Playground Express teaser. So there's that, and also he's working on his chilled drinky bot. Tomorrow he's got his live stream from John Park's desk workshop, so check that out. Colin has this like really cool crystal color organ. Colin loves Colin organs. And this one, what's the name of the crystals he uses? They're like these white crystals.
Well, I just looked at it and I'm like, oh, this is like Krypton's coolest
it's totally,
club.
Yeah, like Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah, you go to Carrie Ellis' house and they're like, hey, let's party.
Yeah, and he uses the teensy and the audio wing to create like a light effect with the so it's a modern color organ. Everyone loves that. Noe Pedro talked about this week's project, which we'll show up later. It's the solder mask DIY. So if you want a DIY UV cured solder mask on milled or hand-etched PCBs, this is a good guide. And it wasn't 100% successful, which is kind of interesting. It's like it was a bit of a challenge. Scott has been working on CircuitPython 3.0, giving an update. He's got NeoPixel working on the M4, so anybody who's using the Metro M4 and helping us debug and check that out, try out NeoPixels. It's super fast. You can now do NeoPixel projects. It's like we're humming along here. It's happening.
Yep.
So, and if you're interested in working on CircuitPython and chatting with our community, go to our Discord channel, adafru.it/Discord, and you can chit-chat with hundreds of other people about your CircuitPython projects. Phil B had a charming story about his Devo costume. Don't want to ruin it. Watch the video so you can hear it straight from the Phil B mouth.
Yeah.
Good story.
You never know where you're going to find a Devo costume.
Or inspiration for your life philosophy. Radomir, who's also a member of the CircuitPython community, has been working on all sorts of hardware add-ons. He's got the Pew Pew Feather Wing, which is a little gaming feather wing that will work on the Feather. And you can program little games in CircuitPython. And he's got a handheld game console with a 1.44-inch TFT, so maybe a little bit more advanced gaming. It's actually a really good idea, like being able to write games in Python, but like on a handheld is a little bit of a dream. There's a lot of these like handheld, like Arduino type things, which are very, very cool. Don't get me wrong, they're gorgeous.
Just can't code on it.
But it's Arduino, and I want people to be able to do it in Python. So I think he's kind of getting towards something very cool there. Z-Bones.
It's like a portable REPL.
Yeah, portable REPL.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could even, you could eventually make it so you plug in a keyboard into it and type directly. Z-Bones has some pumpkin projects, made a super scary microphone speaker combo in a pumpkin with CircuitPython to make the mouth light up. and apparently scared the bejesus out of some local kids, which is good. That's what it's
what Halloween's for.
It's not about treats; it's about the tricks.
Yeah.
Trick or treat. Tricks come first.
Candy tastes better if you've been scared.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And then Jeff has an SMS-controlled Stranger Things light string. But interestingly enough, used AWS IoT. It was a good IoT project to learn AWS IoT, and is using a Wicked Feather, which is cool because it's one of our few boards that supports AWS IoT.
Yep.
And then Adam has a new scanning electron microscope, the Geol update, way better than the ISSI. Has to do some negative voltage fixing, but is already getting really good performance and had some live scan video. Looked great, like 16,000 time magnification. Amazing, really close.
It reminded me of the latest Blade Runner because they zoom in and they see serial numbers on. So I was just I was waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, totally good bones.
Yeah. Okay.
Serialized bones.
So that was Show and Tell this week.
That's Show and Tell. Yes.
All participants on the Show and Tell get an As Seen on the Show and Tell sticker. Email support@adafruit.com and we'll send you one. This is part of the Adafruit Live series of shows. Right now and pretty much forever, we are on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. You can hang out with all these folks and then some 24/7.
It is active.
It's the hacker space you can bring your granddaughter to. Okay. Sparkly Blue Smoke Monster, we're awarding pins inside of Discord. So if you make a terrible mistake and you're like, oh no, I'm never going to enter that crazy prize or that crazy maker contest because I blew up my thing. No. You can still get a pin. All you have to do is go into the Show and Tell projects, put #Sparky, take a photo of whatever mistake, and we're just randomly giving out Sparky pins. Celebrating mistakes is good.
Yay.
That's right. Okay. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, John Park's Workshop. Tune in. It's on all the YouTube's channels and Facebooks and all that stuff. We have a bunch of Circuit Python stuff going on. Is there something, we just had an update in Show and Tell. Scott was talking about the M4.
The M4, so that's happening.
Right
so the SAMD51, which is our Cortex M4 chip, we are slowly but surely fixing bugs, adding support. So USB works quite well now. The bootloader is working quite well now. We just added NeoPixel support, as you saw. Scott is committing that. I know Dan Halbert is working on Bus.io, so we will soon have I2C, which means that you'll be able to use sensors. And of course, we've also unlocked a lot of things in 3.0 for the M4, which is we just couldn't fit into the M0 like a big num support. So you can have infinitely large numbers now. Well, not infinite, but very, 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 very large numbers. Also, slices are handled nicer, and we're gonna, things that didn't fit to the SAMD21 because we just didn't have enough flash or memory. We can now turn on, so even more Python support and better and more. I'm hoping one of the things that I hope we get maybe a 4.0 would be like threading support. So having interrupts would be really cool too. And then what else? We've also got bug fixes.
Yeah, we have other stuff. It's just not public yet that I want to talk about, but maybe next week. There's really cool stuff.
And I got a lot of drivers.
Yeah.
So there's drivers for the BMP 280, BME 280, and BME 680, which we're kind of coming out with very soon.
Yeah.
So lots of drivers are being added. I know Carter did the TSL 2561 Lux sensor. So we have a ways to go. I've written Arduino libraries for 10 years, so I have to catch up on 10 years of Arduino libraries. But I'm slowly and surely getting a bunch of libraries written.
Yeah, we updated a lot of tutorials. We're up to 1,313, and we just did another pass updating, adding CircuitPython stuff, and also MakeCode. So speaking of MakeCode, if you go to makecode.adafruit.com, have a Circuit Playground Express, plug it in, and you can play around with the block editor or pop over to JavaScript. We keep really close eye on the number of people who do something significant, like drag a block or do something. So I don't think I could do public stats or anything, but I could say that boy, lots of people are using it.
Yeah,
I think that's okay to say.
It's a great way to get people started, and it's Circuit Playground Express was partially designed, it was basically designed for people to get started, and this is a great way for beginners who are not even, they don't have experience with typing or coding, or maybe they're using it on a Chromebook and they're like, hey, I just want to drag and drop stuff and get, it's called computational thinking.
Yeah.
Just getting the idea of things happen in order. There's if then, while loops or interrupts, on an event, do something. It's really nice to get people started, and there's definitely no typing, no pointers, no syntax errors, but it's not unpowerful. It has threading, it has interrupts, and it has sensor processing in the background. So you don't have to it just does what you want, not you don't have to like figure out how to say what you want to do.
I was watching some of the people at Adafruit who've never programmed, and they started with Make Code, and then they drag and blocks, and then JavaScript, and they're like, oh, cool. And then they started doing CircuitPython, and then they started using the REPL. So it's like it's a neat like graduation, and then eventually it's like, oh, maybe I'm going to play around with Arduino now. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like you get something done in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, but this is really great for kids. People who normally, they're like, oh, I'm not interested in programming. I don't want to sit and type. This is way more fun to do.
I use it for demos. It's toss something over there like, light sound, whatever.
Yeah.
But now I'm just doing CircuitPython because I just toss the NeoPixel stuff on there, and I'm just like, okay, cool. I got my demo for like, I'm making a snow globe. Anyways, okay, cool. So that's the latest with that. Next, packed mailbag. Hi. So we read these emails, voicemails, videos sometimes to our entire company every week at State of the Fruit. This week, this one's for Colin. Could you please just tell Colin he's awesome? It's surprisingly hard to find. Video content's informative, trustworthy, and delivered by someone likable. Not only does Colin all do that, but he's simply got an entertaining style that makes it fun to learn. More from Nevin. Good work, Colin.
Good work, Colin.
High praise for Colin. Hug Report. We call them Hug Reporters. So someone sent us a song. It's on SoundCloud.com/Adafruit. I think I also had a blog post. But this is a neat song, so I'm going to play the whole thing. It's only a couple minutes. This is a catchy Adafruit tune.
Parts to make your project complete. Lady Adafruit makes everything she bakes technologically delicious. Bring to life electric wishes. There's nothing that is too ambitious. The parts to make your project complete. Cause she has all the parts to make your project complete.
Thank you, everybody.
So you can always call us. This is our phone number. It'll go to voicemail if you're not picking up. You can leave a nice song or voicemail message. Adafruit the Musical coming soon. Got to do some other stuff first. All right, next up, time travel. Back in the world of makers, hackers, artists, and engineers. This week we have some stuff going on the blog. We have some news from the past. We got a lot of things. So on our blog this month, it's Native American Heritage Month. Look for the blog post celebrating all sorts of folks that just happen to be Native American and putting them in the spotlight, because that's what an electronics blog should do.
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
I agree.
Yeah. Tech Shop is open up in Brooklyn. Check out our site for all the details. This is a big deal. Dan Woods, who I used to work with at Make, is one of the people who helps run Tech Shop.
Yeah.
Super cool. It's like a gym membership for making stuff.
Yeah. It's a good spot because it's like there's a lot. It's industrial space, but it's available to almost anyone to rent. desks there, and you get access to a tech shop.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Okay, next up, you're going to be doing this cool live streaming event. We know Evan from Raspberry Pi. This is the IoT Virtual Bootcamp, November 14th and 16th. We'll be doing live factory footage from here. You'll be talking about Internet of Things and more.
I don't know who this guy with the beard is. I mean, like, that's amazing.
That's a nice beard.
That's a nice beard.
Okay, some sad news. Microsoft they're ceasing the manufacturing of the Kinect.
That's so sad.
But a lot of people probably found out about Adafruit because of the Kinect a really long time ago. When the Kinect came out, I remember we thought this is a neat, subsidized, low-cost piece of hardware that's amazing. Like, clearly it used to be like military-grade stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like 3D scanning rooms. And one of the things we thought is cool if there was like open-source drivers, that'd be kind of neat.
That'd be cool.
We made a bounty, and we said, hey, anyone who does open-source drivers, we'll give you $1,000. And we decided we would also get people started, and we sniffed the USB stuff. And then there was like stuff in the press, and this is pre-Microsoft, not current Microsoft, past Microsoft. They're like, well, that's not good, and like, we're going to protect our intellectual property. So then we just raised a bounty again. And anyways, long story short, eventually on NPR, Microsoft's like, hey, this is working out so much. There were so many hacks. Someone did do open source drivers. One of my favorite projects was someone did sign language, and it translated it. And then people were doing virtual puppets. And it made
I thought the puppets were so cool.
Entire industry. We still go. We went to see IBM Watson, and that's a story I'll tell everybody later, not tonight. And their entire IBM Watson display, and like when you walked in, it's like, welcome to the future and all that. It was run by Kinect using the open source drivers.
Yeah, funny.
So anyways, I have a video from 2010 when you did this. This is 7 years ago.
I know.
And this is, we reverse engineered it and we dumped the USB stuff at the QuickBooks station where we do our accounting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's play this video.
The HP computer.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, Lady 80, what are we hacking here?
Well, I got an Xbox 360 so I can play the coolest, latest games, and also hack this Kinect sensor that we got.
That's right.
That's the new IR plus cameras plus accelerometer plus motor sensor. So what I also got is a USB analyzer, and this is a high-speed analyzer from Total Phase called the Beagle, and one end connects to the computer, and then the other end acts as sort of a pass-through, so I can sniff the USB data going between the Kinect and the Xbox 360. And you need a special USB analyzer because USB is very fast and is a complicated protocol. It's very structured. The data is bidirectional and differential, so having a proper USB analyzer is key here. So I have the software up and running, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture the enumeration. That's when you plug in the device and the initial data transfer that occurs. It's very useful for the first hacking attempt. So what I'll do is I'll start, and then I'm going to plug in the Kinect. You can see now that it's recording. So I'll plug this in, and you can see all the data is coming in, and at the same time you can see the Kinect is blinking and activating. So this is going to fill up the buffer. It's recording all of this, so hopefully someone will decode this and watch the video from the Kinect point of view. And we'll post this up, and then people can go at it. You can see a lot of data coming in. This is all video data, almost all of it, and that's why there's so much of it.
And here's
the
it's moving up and down.
motor
so there's
moving.
Some motor movements in there.
And then on the right, you can see there's multiple devices, and that's because inside the Kinect, there's, we reached the memory limit. In the Kinect, there's a hub, and then a motor device, a camera device, and a microphone device. So that's why you're going to have these 3 or 4 different devices that appear on the capture. So hopefully someone will check this out and decode it, and write a Kinect driver.
Yeah, and they can win that bounty. Anywho, so then we had badges and stickers like, hey, you hacked Kinect, you did some cool projects. And so that era is over, but I think it showed the world that you can have a consumer electronic device and there's so many more things that you can do with it. And it really made an entire industry.
Yeah.
And
I bet more Kinects were used for like interactive art than in games.
Yeah. And the fun secret story that we were able to reveal later is there was a person at Microsoft who wanted this so much.
A double agent.
But Microsoft at the time wouldn't let this happen, so that's who contacted us was Johnny Lee.
Yeah.
who's kind of well known in the world of like, touch screens and graphics and all that.
Yeah.
And then the person who hacked the drivers, we gave them the bounty, and then we donated to the FF.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That's Hector Martin. Does
Hector
really
Martin.
cool laser stuff too.
Yep. So anyways, that was 7 years ago.
Ooh.
Woo! Yeah. Okay. We're just in an apartment then. So I have a series of articles that I started doing. This one's called Machine Learning, the Forbin Project. And it's about artificial intelligence. So check it out on our website. And this is a movie from 1970. So it's like getting old. And I think it was like, it's like 47 years old, this movie.
Okay.
It's called the Forbin Project. And kind of looks like the Hackaday stuff. I'm sure that's where I got the idea. The Hackaday logo and font and stuff. And there's this guy, and this is Dr. Forbin. And he's like a jerky dude who ends up testifying in Congress and saying, hey, those ads on all those websites in Russia wasn't a bad thing. He's like arrogant engineer. He's like,
super arrogant.
This computer is going to rule the world, man. It's going to be totally cool. Let's just hand the entire everything over to the
power grid.
Yeah. And so he's
voting
like,
systems.
Here's a presentation of how it will work. And like the aesthetics on this is really neat. They even had like a JFK looking president. He's like, okay, I guess the computer is running everything, until Colossus says, Warren, there's another. And then Colossus starts talking to Guardian, which is the Russian version, and they start doing this like version of like sexting. They're like, hi, I like math, I like math, I like math. And eventually they merge into one. And then so the government, the US is like, okay, we just got to cut the ties between these two. They cannot be up all night texting each other. I don't even know what the bill looks like for that.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, you cut the link, so I'm now going to detonate the nukes. And so they've said, well, the algorithm knows, the computer knows that there's no way this can happen. Yep, turns out it is. So eventually, Colossus is now merged with Guardian, and it took over. And then Colossus is starting to like.
So this is like war games, but if they got the computers got along.
Well, the computers got along, but the computer's like, these people are like, they can't be trusted.
No, because they don't text nearly as well as we do.
And so eventually Colossus is like, look, I got to put cameras everywhere. I'm going to watch you all the time, Dr. Forbin, because you made me. You're the only one who could probably mess with me. And so he's like, all right. So he put all these cameras up, and he makes a drink. It's like, that's too much vermouth. And he's like, oh, man.
This is totally a computer splainy AI.
And he's like, just chill, okay? And then he's like, I want some privacy. And Colossus like, what kind of privacy? So what's fun is if you start to look at Colossus and you start to look at what's going on right now, these are the cameras that Colossus uses. And, these are all the stuff from Google and all the cameras that are in our homes. And then it starts talking, and it looks like one of the computer tubes, like an Alexis or an Echo or whatever else. I have one of these. This is, let me take it apart. This is the Amazon camera that looks at you while you undress and tells you what to wear. So this isn't far-fetched stuff, but the moral of the story is, if we're jerks, we're going to have computers that rule us, and they're going to be jerks.
Yeah, it's like if you're a jerk and you have a dog, the dog becomes a jerk. It's like it's like you set a bad example. Same thing for computers.
There might not be bad pets; it might be bad pet owners.
Exactly.
And we always talk about that with Adabot. And at the end of the show, if there's time, I'm going to show some videos that I shot a million years ago with Sony about the Curio, which is a robot. And their thing was like, don't make robot slave, don't make a robot enemy, make a robot friend. So it would like read to kids. I haven't seen any of these like robot things like read to kids. It's always like, oh, it's a battle bot, or it's like,
it will fetch your newspaper in the morning, and do
or
your
it's like,
laundry.
I will place the ads and change the election. So the thing that is interesting is even the aesthetics look the same. The
grill and the silver ball,
So just remember, like the masters of the universe, all these people that are running all these companies, if they're jerks and they do bad stuff, and they're not thinking about people and they don't have empathy, then we might get some robot that's complaining about too much vermouth. So that's the article. More ahead. Okay. Open source hardware. We're an open source hardware company, Lady Ada. We got some guides. We have 1,313.
Yeah, so this week I think we put up the Adafruit 3.5-inch 480 by 320 TFT feather wings. That's a nice big feather wing display for your feathers, so check that out. I also did an old guide that I'd been meaning to catch up on. It's the Adafruit PCF real-time clock. I forgot to put up the guide, so I put up the guide for that. So if you want CircuitPython code, I added that as well, so it's kind of nice. And then we have this week's project from Noe Pedro, which is how to use UV solder mask fluid to create custom solder masks for your etched PCBs, which is a very entertaining journey through how to and how not to do it. But they eventually got it working.
Yeah. And then last up, this guy just went up before the show went live.
Yes.
Seesaw.
This is our Seesaw guide. So this week's product is kind of a development board for Seesaw, which is the project. Like we can't release software as a new product, but this is kind of the software that's a new product. And then there's hardware that encapsulates the software, but it's the software that's a new product. But we're releasing our documentation for Seesaw, which is a kind of a universal interface board. So I call it Seesaw. It goes from one thing to the other and back. And basically, I just got really frustrated with needing to add like NeoPixels or PWMs or like GPIOs to boards like the ESP8266 or Linux boards like the Raspberry Pi, or there's other boards that similarly they run Linux but they don't have NeoPixel support, or the NRF51 doesn't do NeoPixel support or whatnot. Like there's boards that don't have a lot of analog pins, or they don't have NeoPixel outputs, they don't have PWM outputs, and making feather wings or making hardware that is accessible to like the vast number of platforms can get very frustrating, because it's like, oh, this one doesn't have that or doesn't have this. So the Seesaw it's an SAMD09, which is a Cortex M0 chip that runs our open source firmware. And the firmware itself converts from I2C to a variety of different hardware interfaces that are annoying to add, like NeoPixel or PWM. We have a UART converter as well, so you can do I2C to UART and back. It has EEPROM built in, so if you want non-volatile memory, you can store a little bit of non-volatile memory in I2C as well. What else did we add? There's PWM, NeoPixel, GPIO, analog digital conversions in, and also we'll eventually have a version that has digital analog out. We'll also add things later on, such as rotary encoders, and I want to do like FFT management for you. Basically stuff that you can offload onto this processor, and it'll assist you. So for example, our joystick featherwing, which requires 2 analog pins and 4 digital I/O pins, instead of connecting that to an expander, it goes to the Seesaw and then communicates over I2C.
That's smart.
That way it works with everything, because so far what I've determined is every platform always has I2C.
Yeah.
Because you always need to have a real-time clock or sensor. So I2C is like, it's supported by everything. So
it sounds like every single one of our conversations we're drawing out a product line, and you're like, here's where I2C is.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, you want to add like GPS. Well, there's now GPS that have I2C, but historically there weren't. Or you want to have a rotary encoder. Rotary encoders are a real pain to add if you don't have hardware support. So this chip would basically offload that for you. So it's kind of a coprocessor. So the guide actually goes through and has lots of pages on every one of these different, coprocessor assists. And all the hardware that's capable. And so it's actually meant more for developers who want to, people who are using it will just use our libraries, but if you want to develop new Seesaw interfaces, which we would really love, and if you would commit them or do pull requests onto our repo, that would be great, because I think there's a whole wide range of hardware support that could be added that'd be useful to the community.
AT Maker in the chat, like Seesaw plus Raspberry Pi, solves a lot of problems.
It solves a lot of problems without you having, and I know people are like, well, I'll just glue like an Arduino to it. And it's like, you can do that, but now you have this like big chunky Arduino that you also have to program.
Yeah.
Whereas like Seesaw, if we just make it ruggedized, it's like, it becomes a chip without needing to support the software. Another thing, capacitive touch, for example.
Cap touch?
You can add cap touch. The SAMD09 has native support for that. So there's, you won't be able to fit all of these together into the 09 because it's a very small chip. It's low cost, but then you can always upgrade to the SAMD21, which is like programmatically very similar. Or you can just pick and choose. Maybe you want capacitive touch and PWM, right? You want maybe a servo to capacitive touch, conversion thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe you only want NeoPixel and analog input, right? So, or maybe you want just PWM and analog for a robot. So you can pick and choose which interfaces you want. You can fit about 4 or 5 per build. So it's detailed, but this is going to be a core element of a lot of our stemma boards, feathers, Raspberry Pi bonnets. There's a lot of things that are going to use it.
It'll be nice to have everything kind of work with everything.
Yeah, and over I2C, which I don't like, but it's the best thing going.
Okay.
So check that out if you're interested.
Main New York City factory footage. Here are some videos of the week from the Adafruit factory. All right, and we have some other footage. This is from our cameras that we have at some rework stations and more. And then we have some 3D printing. This is printing a skull. This is time lapse, of course. 3D printers aren't this quick yet. Then
Skull
we
mask.
Also have more assembly.
Yeah, I think these are some boards that need to be assembled.
This we tweeted on Friday. So we made a wrestling belt. We're working on a couple projects where there's like NeoPixels. We think that there's a lot of opportunities for professional wrestling and electronics, so we're working on that. And as always, here's a beautiful cloudy sunset in New York outside our windows. That's what the pick and place see. Nimbus, the friendly cloud entity, is here. We have a few things going on. First, tomorrow's a big day, or Monday. We're releasing a new series. This is, I think, important. So, because we've been writing on scripts, we've been filming and all that. No one's really explained like IoT, like what's MQTT? Where did it come from? What are all these protocols? What are the transports?
Yeah. What should you use?
What should we use? What about security? You know what the S in IoT stands for? You know, there's no so it's roughly a 10-part series, and the videos are intense. And we have learning guides, and you'll see a lot of activity. A long time ago, we made this little pen. This is our IoT pen. You can put under the overhead for a second here, but you know, hi. So here's our preview of what we're going to be launching next couple days, and we did this with DigiKey, and I think everyone's going to like it. But here's a preview.
Yes.
Power, distance, and bits. Okay, so Adafruit IO, we have the Pro version out now. It's like $9. And this is kind of the best thing that could ever happen. Hackaday, or the worst thing. It's true. So Hackaday, they looked at all the IoT services, and Adafruit got high praise, high marks. So we sent that to the IO team, and this is the quote from the Hackaday article that looked at all these.
Give me the quote.
Here's the quote. Adafruit IO was hands down the best platform to learn with. And that's kind of our goal.
That's what we want.
To learn with.
Yes.
They had excellent documentation, data management, and an error console for debugging. The free account is enough to get started, and the paid account is reasonably priced and powerful enough to get a lot done. If I had to suggest a service to someone who wanted to learn how to add IoT data logging to their projects, I would recommend Adafruit IO without hesitation. High praise, tough crowd
that's
too.
That's what I wanted.
High praise and tough crowd.
Great.
So that was
the
neat.
comments. Okay.
No, the comments are good. So that, and they also have these nice graphics.
Yeah, they're great. I love the artist.
Okay, 3D.
So talented.
3D printing. Noe Pedro printing every single week. We have a new 3D printing video this week. This is what we talked about. Learn guide.
UV masks.
Yeah, take it away.
For DIY PCBs.
Take a look at this PCB. I CNC milled this a few weeks ago, and it's already starting to oxidize. In this video, I'll show you how I used UV curable solder mask. We'll need a few items to do this, so I put together a list in my tutorial, which you can find linked below. The first thing I needed to do was to make a solder mask template. This is basically a piece of transparent film that has artwork for the pads and or vias. I printed this on an inkjet printer, but you could easily DIY your own with a simple Sharpie. I think this works best for simple PCBs like mine, but for complex designs, you'll probably want to print your own artwork. So in the CAD software, I isolated the pads layer and exported the artwork as a PDF. Then I tweaked the pads by filling in the holes and added some artwork. I'll need some extra copies so that I can double them up. For printing, I set the printer type to glossy and used the highest quality print setting. I found this quick dry transparency film works really well with inkjet printers. One side has a coarse texture, which is the side we'll print on. The rough surface allows the ink to dry so it sticks and doesn't wipe off. Using an X-Acto knife, I cut out the artwork and made sure to leave some excess so it's easier to handle the film. I need to double up the artwork because the ink just isn't dark enough to fully block out the UV light. To stick them together, I added some drops of super glue along the edges. You want to make sure that this doesn't get on any of the ink, so make sure there's plenty of space. Perfect alignment is very important, so you may want to tack the artwork down so it stays in place. Blank pieces of film can be used to spread the resin, so make sure you have a few. Handling the resin can be a little messy, so I made sure to wear some latex gloves. Here you can see the PCB is already starting to oxidize, so I gave it a few light passes of Scotch-Brite, which can help clean the copper. Just make sure to wash it down with some rubbing alcohol. Once cleaned, place it down on a blank piece of film. I'm using this UV curable solder mask from Mechanic, which comes in this syringe-like tube. It's easy to dispense onto the PCB, but how much to use will depend on the size of your PCB. Once on the PCB, place a blank piece of film on top of the resin and lightly press down. I found a piece of acrylic works really well for evenly spreading the resin across the PCB. To get the corners, I used a squeegee to spread the resin. You want to get rid of any air bubbles. You don't want to press too hard or you'll make the resin too thin. I found this to be a little tricky to get even, so just take your time. I added a drop of alcohol to the back of the solder mask and placed it over the PCB. Lighting up the artwork with the pads needs to be as perfect as possible, and the alcohol helps keep the pieces of film together. A UV flashlight can be used to expose the resin. This one has a lot of UV LEDs. To properly expose the resin, you'll need to find the right balance of exposure time. In this first attempt, I exposed the resin for about 6 seconds. I then removed the solder mask and started to peel away the film. Yeah, just to find out I didn't expose it evenly enough. Some of the resin did stick to the PCB, but a big chunk of it just tore off. Onto the next PCB, I exposed this one for about 10 seconds. Following the same procedure, remove the mask and slowly peel. Yeah, this one failed too. I think I may have added too much resin on this one. This is a little tricky. The size of the PCB, amount of resin, and even the distance of the light source all matters, so you'll need to do a few tests just to get it right. After a few trials and tribulations, I found 10 seconds works really well with the right amount of resin. Any longer than that, and that could result in an overexposed solder mask. Once I got decent exposure, I submerged the PCB in a tray filled with alcohol, and this helps loosen up the unexposed resin. I needed to agitate the PCB and rub off the unexposed resin using a brush and some paper towels. After a good cleaning, we can see the exposed copper pads. I did some more tests and tried out some different pigments since I had some extra samples to work with. Again, following the same procedure and about the same amount of resin and exposure time. I could never quite get perfectly even resin, and I always ended up with some thin spots. I found this to be a little annoying and went through a few fails to get it this good. This process requires a balance, and admittedly I had more fails than successes. I think the failed PCBs could probably be salvaged, but I found it kind of laborious to clean up, and honestly it doesn't cost me much to throw them out since I can just mill more in a few minutes. Once the PCBs are cleaned, I exposed it one last time to fully cure the resin. I was able to get at least one good solder mask from each sample, and for whatever reason, I found the red colored resin took the artwork the best. Now all that's left to do is to install the components and solder them up. And if you're wondering what this is, it's just a little button PCB I used for the Pi Girl Zero build. So how well does the solder mask actually work? Well, it's pretty good. It actually flows onto the pads much better than the bare copper, which is pretty nice. And FYI, as an alternative to UV curable resin, there's also a dry film type that might be a better option. Hey, if you guys have any tips and tricks, please let me know down in the comments. It'll help me out and other people too. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to leave this video a thumbs up if you found it useful.
And we have a couple last minute videos we did right before Halloween, so we're going to play both time lapse and then another pumpkin one. And don't forget, every Wednesday, 3D Hangouts with Noah and Pedro. Lady Ada, it is almost time for new products, so we should tell everybody the code. Code's Forbin. That's too much for Muth. Save 10% off. It's an 8 box. Meep. Want to do this?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
New.
All right, this
New.
week,
Got some products.
hammer headers.
Yeah, we got shipment from Pomeroni. We got some of these male plug hammer headers. So we sell the kit where you get like the plastic pieces, but maybe you have a vise, or maybe you already have a piece of plastic, or you have a jig, or you just want to try doing it yourself. We have the hammer headers. They have these little nubs so that you can gently but securely hammer them into a PCB like a Pi Zero, and basically add headers with no soldering. It's very secure. It works quite well, and it makes a cold weld. So as long as you don't like pry on it, and which would break a soldered connection anyways, it works quite well. So we have the male headers, and we have these socket headers as well.
Good for classrooms. They can't solder.
Yeah, so if you can't solder, this is available. So you can, you can hammer this into a Raspberry Pi Zero, and then you can plug wires into it if you want to, use it with a breadboard. That makes it a lot easier. Or you can hammer it into like a hat or a bonnet or a fat or whatnot, and plug it in directly there as well.
Okay. I'm going to show them on the overhead or something?
Yeah, this is just the parts, and then they come like this. And then, let me show you this. I'll zoom in. I'll focus in on this. So you can see there's these little nubs. So when you hammer, they squish in, and then they expand into the hole to make a solid connection. So they're special, but they work quite well.
Okay.
So there you go.
Next up, it's a screen.
Ooh, this is the Hyperpixel. We ordered these a while ago,
Hyperpixel.
and they finally showed up. So this is a very high-resolution screen for the Raspberry Pi. It works with the 2x20, the 40-pin GPIO headered Pis. And this one has a capacitive touch screen as well. You can't see it. It's actually like underneath, which is kind of neat. And I've got the demo over here.
Okay,
I can show, yeah. So it went to sleep, but you have a capacitive touch screen. It's very high res, so it's 800 by 480, and it's like IPS, which is a very nice screen. Yeah, these are used for tablets and phones and stuff. There's one trade-off. It's very, very fast. It's high resolution, and it's lots of color, but it uses every GPIO pin pretty much. So you can't use this if you wanted to connect an I2C device or buttons or whatnot. There's just all the pins are used.
It's all like interface and OS, like
it's all interface, because basically the DPI, we have the DPI Keepa, which is like it's not a hat because again it uses all of the pins. All of those pins are used for the DPI display. I mean, it was really neat that the Pi Foundation exposed the interface, but it uses like 18 pins for color and then 6 pins for interface. But you add it all up, and basically all the pins are used. Yeah. So that's the only trade-off. So if you want something that connects to hardware, you'll not need to connect via USB. You get the USB connection, but yeah, all the GPIO are used. So this is a nice little screen.
Okay.
So check it out. We have a bunch in stock.
All right. The star of the show tonight, besides our community and you, Lady Ada, is
the Seesaw board. This is the at SAMD09, very low-cost Cortex M0, pre-programmed with our Seesaw firmware. This is for our development, but we released this for you. So you other people who are developers, or maybe you want to add I2C to analog the PWM NeoPixel to your board. I have a little demo I can show off, and I chatted about this earlier, so watch the whole show. But basically, this chip is an I2C to just about anything interface. So this is a Metro, and I'm connected only to I2C to the chip, and the chip has a firmware that does. This, for example, is doing PWM, so it's like slowly pulsing this LED up and down. This is a GPIO input, and then this is a separate output, so it's reading it and then telling it to light the LED. And then it also has a NeoPixel output, so if your microcontroller doesn't have NeoPixel hardware support, but it has I2C, you can use this. It also has analog digital input, so it can read this potentiometer and light up the pixels in multiple colors. So it's a NeoPixel output, analog input. So this is a little all-in-one demo showing the hardware capabilities. You get basically, I think, like 8 or 10 pins to do whatever you want, and all over I2C. So it's a really nice little Swiss Army knife, I2C to PWM, GPIO, has EEPROM, analog digital inputs, and NeoPixel. And of course, if you want to write more Seesaw code, it's programmable. With the J-Link, you can make your own custom build with whatever peripherals you want.
Okay. So that was new products, Lady Ada. Let's do our new product recap.
New.
Let's do it.
Okay, we have these hammer headers. These are solderless headers you can gently hammer into your Raspberry Pi Zero, or you also have the female socket version, and you would hammer this into your Pi Zero or into your bonnet or hat or whatever. So basically, if you don't have a soldering iron or you don't want to use a soldering iron, you don't have to. Just hammer these in and you can plug and play. It makes a cold well, very strong mechanical connection. We have the Hyperpixel from Pimeroni. This is an 800 by 480 capacitive touchscreen. Plugs into your Raspberry Pi, works with any Pi that has a 2x20 connector. It does use every GPIO, however, but it's extremely fast, 60 frames per second, 18-bit color. So very beautiful capacitive touchscreen display. And we have the Seesaw, our I2C to PWM, GPIO, analog digital conversion, NeoPixel, EEPROM, etc. It's a sort of anything to I2C converter, great for your Raspberry Pi, ESP266, or other board that doesn't have analog digital converters, PWM, NeoPixel, etc. Very handy Swiss Army knife little board. Add more hardware to your hardware.
And that's new products, Lady Ada.
New.
Good work. Okay, don't forget the code's Forbin. 10% off an Adafruit store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna get out here kind of on time, but we're gonna just do one quick top secret. All right, this is a top secret because like it's sitting here. So the plan is, and this is just a quick little video I made. This is a circuit playground inside the snow globe. We're gonna do a snow globe project. So just showing this.
Everyone
off.
loves making snow globes.
Yeah, I think it's like Martha Stewart's most popular like article blog post thing. And then here's something we're doing. So we have some Adafruit history, and we didn't want to throw these away. We're making art out of the old hand stenciler stencils.
CC3000.
Yeah, and so this is art, and I'm finally getting to my Warhol factory stage of life, and we're gonna have these for the team here, and for us, we're also making a box. And this will be for...
Got a lamp in it?
Yeah, this will be a lamp. Because one of the things, you know, I have this 12 years of photos about Adafruit, including that video from 7 years ago when you were hacking to connect with our accounting station. And, you know, it's a piece of history, and I think we'd kick ourselves. You know, what is Adafruit going to be like 10 years from now? So we're going to turn this into art. We're going to hang it around here. And maybe down the road, we'll auction some stuff off for charity. Things like that.
Yes.
I remember hand stenciling. That was fun.
Oh, yeah, we totally did that.
So that's top secret.
Tweaked little knobs.
Yeah.
Good times.
Okay. Back in the vault.
Couldn't use those 603s.
Yeah.
Too tough to register.
Okay. Well, you know, don't forget, code's Forbin. Let's do some questions. Post them up in Discord. That's where we answer questions. That's where all the questions are answered. Okay. Let's hit it there. Someone know about SPI and the Seesaw?
It doesn't do I2C to SPI at this time. That hasn't come up yet. Also, usually SPI requires very high speeds. But there's a lot of possibilities. I mean, we've just sort of created a bunch of modules that you can select in your makefile. But if you'd like to add I2C to SPI, that would be handy. We do have I2C to UART, which we definitely find more useful because a lot of times you don't have a UART, but you need one to like connect to you know, I got a particle sensor yesterday that was UART only, right? So if you don't have a spare UART, that's what this would be handy for.
Yep. Can you use the Seesaw for the CAN bus stuff for I2C interfaces for automotive projects?
You could, but we, again, don't have a CAN bus converter. So if you read that module, then yes, you can do it. Okay, so does the Seesaw depend on hardware I2C? Is it bit bang, software interface? You do need to have I2C. I mean, you don't have to have hardware I2C. It would be really weird if you didn't. Like most devices have at least one hardware I2C port. Okay. But the device itself, the SAMD09, uses hardware I2C for interfacing. Can the Seesaw send interrupts, or would another GPIO? It has an interrupt pin, yeah. You can select which peripheral uses, or any peripheral uses the interrupt, and then you can have it trigger the interrupt pin to know, hey, you know, GPIO is ready, or, you know, UART data is ready. Yeah.
Have we considered doing something like, the dumpster dive stuff that you see? Well, the problem is if you get something from Adafruit, it has to work. And generally, we have such a high yield, we don't have stuff we're tossing. The things that we're finished with, like these, like we have a stenciler friend, a robot that we work with. So we decided let's turn in the art. And someone noted in the chat, there's like aluminum prints now, like they print photos on that, and they're beautiful. So maybe we'll even do that. It's a piece of history, so that's why we like to do it.
Yes.
I want to make a game for iOS using the Feather Bluefruit LE. Anyway, I can do that.
Yeah, check out our app. It'll get you started on interfacing with Bluetooth. It's not too hard. You do have to use some things, but we have a skeleton app as well that you can get started with.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. That is about it. People really like it. It's Seesaw night. It's Seesaw night. Oh, how does DPI differ from SPI? Can you show a demo if possible? There was a short clip, but not that detailed.
DPI basically it's a parallel interface, not serial, and so DPI, which I think is like display parallel interface, uses 24 pins, whereas SPI uses only 4 pins. So DPI is much faster, but it uses a ton more pins. So that's the trade-off you get. Like if you, for most microcontrollers, you just don't have 24 pins available, so we tend to go with SPI. But as you get to these big displays, 800 by 480 pixels, you just can't push SPI fast enough, so you have to use DPI.
Okay. Those are the questions. Keep hanging out in Discord, because that's where kind of we live when we're not here. And don't forget that is at adafruit.it/discord. Cool community and more is there. All right, Lady Ada, let's give away some. What do you want to give away tonight?
You can give away Seesaw board.
Oh, you're giving away Seesaw. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. What are the rules?
Rules are if you've won something before, you can't win again. Only one winner per my lifetime. And the trivia question will be asked to the first person who calls the phone number. When we open up the phone lines, we're going to ask you your name, where you're calling from, and a project you're working on or you want to work on. And if you are able to answer those questions, we will award you the prize, which is a Seesaw. Amazing.
That kind of works.
That kind of works?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay. So it's Seesaw, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Well, the phone lines are open.
Call if you would like
in
a
a
Seesaw.
second, they're going to be open.
Yes.
Yeah. Phone lines are open.
Okay.
That was fast. Oh, I need to make sure I can hear it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it now. Yeah, everything's fine.
Hello, you have reached Ask Engineer, and you're the winner. Hello?
Hey, this is Shivansh.
Hi. Can you turn down your speaker if you have it on so you don't get feedback? Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm Shivansh. I'm calling from San Francisco.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. All the way on the other side of America. Well, congratulations. You've won a Seesaw I2C interface board. It'll be so handy. What's a project that you're working on or you want to work on?
Yeah, I'm working on the surveillance camera, making it from Raspberry Pi.
Okay, this could be handy for you. Maybe you could put some servos on it or some LEDs. Well, we're happy to award you your gift. All you have to do is email support@adafruit.com. That's SUPPORT @adafruit.com, and tell them you won a 3657. That's the product number, and they will send you a 3657 immediately.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Have a lovely evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Okay,
you too.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was cool.
Okay.
Okay, well, if you didn't win, you can still win big on checkout. Just use code FORBIN.
10% off.
Adafruit Store.
Everything but AdaBox subscriptions and gift certificates.
Yep. Okay, well, that's it for our show tonight, everybody. Thanks so much. Thank you, Adafruit community. Special thanks to everyone who checked up on us yesterday and more. What a week. Be good to each other and hang out in the Adafruit community if you're interested in all the developments that are happening in real time here at the company and around the maker world. We're here next week, 7:30, show and tell. Then Ask an Engineer. Tomorrow is John Park, 4 p.m. Noe Pedro every weekend. And I think we're going to carve in some time for Desk of Lady Ada again. We're back. I think we'll be able to do stuff. We've just been busy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's it. I have a little bit of a special treat for folks tonight. Like a really long time ago, I worked on the commercials and some of the stuff for when Sony had a humanoid robot called Curio. They also had Aibo. So I have footage from it. And I'm just going to play it. It's 12 minutes while we're wrapping up here and packing up.
Play it out.
We're going to play it out. So thank you, everyone. And thanks to all the Adafruit team members, both here and far. We're all together through the digital. And
thanks, everybody.
I have a picture of Mossfoot the cat.
Yeah.
And here's your moment of Zener. And here's your video.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
間違ってないですよね。うん。じゃあ、OK だ。うわっ、うわっ、おっと、いいね。お尻触りそうで触らない感じ。はい、カット。丸ほどちょっと上位が少し進んでたかな。それが残念なんだけど、できれば。これ何分？あ、見つけた。これ最高だね。これでいこう。これ面白い。目が悪い方だ。カットします。いいじゃないですか。はい、OK です。はい、じゃあ今度こそ番組の話ですね。はい、ありがとうございました。ゆうさん、ぶる下げるわ。 カット。ちょっと左上がちょっと一回、ちょっとバレンタインだったね。もう一発やりたいのは、もうちょい近くに奥にするって言います？奥にして奥からもうちょっとして前に。はいはい。今ちょっと斜めすぎたんだよね。なるほど。
木に登れる猫が好き。猫は空を飛び回る鳩が好き。鳩は遠くまで飛べるワシが好き。ところで、あなたは何が好き？私は友達が好き。アンは友達が好きなんだ。
カットします。ゴールド。はい。
ジュリオはクエスト4キュリオシティ。
静かに。
ワクワクする気持ちのことよ。私の今の気持ちと同じ。それなら私の中にもあるわ。わしはゆっくり眠れる大きな森が好き。そして大きな森が上を見て言いました。なんて言ったと思う？もっと大きな空が好き。ピンポーン。
カットします。
首も下げます？
もうちょい、いやいいですよ。もうちょい下げて。次、はい。こんなもんかな。はい。これでください。動かないように。なんかで裏側で止めてってくれますか？はい。
顔を向けてるあたりが芸人魂を感じさせる。
アクション。ちょっと動かしてない。ああ、いいですね。これもう片足も上げてたんだっけ？全然感じてないし。早押しで飛ばして。ほんとスパッとやって差しかけてる。はい、行きましょう。これは全部作んないけどね。白い線ですね。アクション。
ソニーを紹介していくために生まれた好奇心ユニットキュリオの記者会見が始まりました。
ちゃんと見て歩かないとね。眩しいよ。あれ、マルコは
？Question over here. Where in Sony do you come from?
Sony. Sony.
思い切り転ぶことを許された幸せなロボットを作りたかった。メカトロニクスとコンピューター技術の高密度な融合。ソニードリームロボットキュリオ。Sony.